There are so many different sectors reacting to this judgment today. Someone who's known the former president for many years through the liberation struggle against apartheid, through the ANC, then later as a spokesperson at the Union Buildings, in fact, is Mac Maharaj. Mac, good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you for your time. How do you feel when you hear this ruling, when you see what the Constitutional Court has said today?
Stephen, I have two contradictory feelings. Firstly, I think the decision of the ConCourt is a watershed moment in the construction of our constitutional democracy. It is a decision that comes at a time when all three arms of our state, because of their own weaknesses perhaps, have been under attack, so that the very fabric of our constitution is slowly coming under attack. The court has taken a very firm and unequivocal step to defend its authority, to uphold the principle that all are equal before the law, and to defend the supremacy of our Constitution. So it may well turn out that this decision is a decisive moment in closing the chapter on the abuses of power that have taken place, in closing the chapter on the entrenchment of corruption in our system, in closing the chapter on the failure of our three arms at different times. But it's also a very sad moment for me. The former president chose to challenge the authority and the credibility of our apex court and to place himself above the Constitution. It is sad because he has played an important role in our liberation struggle and was involved in negotiating our path from apartheid to democracy, negotiations which paved the way for our constitutional democracy. It is sad that he should close the last years of his life by walking back on everything that upholds his humanity, his service to the people, to do so in the interest of defending his personal interests. So it is sad, but I believe that with time, this moment will mark a critical moment in the construction of our democracy.
Mac, do you think this judgment comes as a shock to the former president himself? Do you think he would have been watching this or hearing about it? Do you think he would have been surprised by what happened today?
I don't think so. I don't think so, because I think he went down a slippery slope to the point where he began to believe in himself and placed himself above the law. I think he has chosen this path as a way to shift attention from the corruption in which he has been involved and to hold the banner of a victim and a martyr. It's a false understanding, but I think he found himself trapped in that space and has become a victim of that false belief.
There's a strange question, Mac, that I would like to ask you, because you know the former president and have known him for so many years. And I think, frankly, the whole nation wants to know what happens now. Do you think the former president will comply with the order? Do you think he might defy it? Do you think something else could happen?
It's difficult to predict what he will do, but I think that one of the possibilities is that he will choose to go to jail and therefore choose to appear in his corruption trial and try and clothe himself in the garb of a victim. And I think that there are many voices in this country who seek to undermine our Constitution, who will exploit this, who will exploit legitimate grievances of our people to try and support the idea that he is a victim and that he is a martyr of a constitution that is incorrect, that is no longer valid. So I think that that's one possibility. I do not think that he will defy the court. I think he will live to the picture that is created, and that is he's not afraid of jail. He will go to jail. It is the only way left for him to grasp at the idea that he is a victim. So that's the great possibility. The possibility that he will not go to prison and expect masses to stand up on his side is very remote. Yes, there will be many, many people who have been involved and given so much for this freedom that we enjoy, who will be saddened by this picture. It's not something we would want to see. I would not like to see him in jail. But it is a reality that we have to live with. It's a choice that we have to make. Do we stand by our Constitution, or do we allow a person to put his personal interests and his sense of victimhood to become the banner and emblem of our society?
Mac, there's so many things to think about. Some of them you've expressed. So many times the former president has come into conflict with the law. And let me just be clear, I don't mean that he's necessarily broken the law. What I'm talking about is the case after case after case that went through the courts to the Constitutional Court. I think of the Nkandla judgment. I think of the Zuma spy tapes judgment. I think of the Shabir Sheikh trial in 2004, 2005. I have to wonder if there's an inevitability to this. Somehow, this story, despite the heights that Mr. Zuma rose to, the highest office in the land, somehow it was always going to end with a judgment from a Constitutional Court judge ordering him to go to jail. That there was an inevitability, a Greek tragedy to this.
Indeed. His case is a Greek tragedy in the classical sense of the word. And here it is because he has found himself trapped in a space and walking around a path, a slippery slope from which there was no way back. He has long passed the moment of non-return. He's long past the moment where he could have made amends for it. So he has chosen that path, and I think he's trapped in it. And that's the nature of a tragedy.
Mac Maharaj, I really appreciate the time. Thank you very much indeed, and thank you for sharing your thoughts with us today. I know this can't be an easy time for you. As you say, you yourself are conflicted about this, two different feelings. Mac Maharaj is a former spokesperson for Jacob Zuma. He was then the president at the time, former Robben Islander himself, someone who, of course, knows the former president very well indeed. Well,